Today we're talking about the Moondrop Chu 2 $18.99 cheapie from Moondrop. How good is it in comparison to the other all-star cheapies and also in comparison to the original Chu 1 or just original Chu, of course. Let's jump into it. Hey friends, Tim, welcome back to Navion Kids Audio. Today we have the review of the Chu 2 by Moondrop, and this little IEM has been getting some love, some hate in the community. Some say it's shouty, it doesn't sound that great. Some say, wow, this is perfect, it sounds so clean. I'm in the middle. For me, it's a rather good sounding IEM. I personally enjoy it, but it is definitely for certain groups of people, not everybody. Starting with the bass, there's a lot of bass, mainly focused in the sub bass. There's good amount of mid bass as well, but the mid bass thumps and slam is not quite dynamic. It sounds kind of pillowy, blunt, if you will. So you feel the bass is there, is powerful, but it's just not that satisfying. Again, the power is there, just the thumps and slams are blunt. Pillow. On to the mid-range. This is where some people love the Chu 2 and some people really dislike the Chu 2. Some people find it, again, very shouty, vocals way too forward. I get that, I understand that, but for me, it's not nearly as forward or not nearly as shouty as the Starfield 2. I feel the Chu 2 sits right along that borderline for me personally of being almost too much. It's a lot, but it never really crossed that line for me. I never really felt fatigue from listening to the Chu for an extended period of time, unlike the Starfield 2 where after like one or two songs I'm done. That Starfield 2 is just really shouty. This is just on that line. Now with a signature like this, with the mid-range being pushed really forward, or in this case the upper mids being pushed very forward, it gives a sense of separation to both males and female vocals. Vocals just sound center stage. They sound like they pop out from the background, well imaged, well separated from the rest of the track. And that's something that's quite heavenly to listen to, especially if you're into vocals. And by the way, if you are into vocals, I really do recommend the Chu 2. However, it has a downside where everything else is kind of in the background. The bass, the treble, the instrumental nuances. The rest of the track just feels like it's sitting behind the vocals. That's where a lot of people have a problem with the Chu 2, and it's completely understandable. Music is not just vocals after all. If you are into vocals, Chu 2 might impress you. But if you're not in that group, yes, Chu 2 will sound shouty. On to the treble area, and despite it having quite a bit of treble on graph, it doesn't really come across that way. Because of how much upper mid-range you have, the treble actually sounds quite balanced out with the upper mids. It's not too much, it's not scratchy, it's not piercing. It's enough and is smooth. It's not quite revealing of micro nuances and details, but it's not gonna be the type of treble that fatigues you in any way. All that is to say is that the Chu is a mid-range vocal lover's IEM. That's it. If you don't describe yourself as a vocal or mid-range lover, then I would recommend staying away from the Chu 2. On to the technicals, the details. The Chu 2 for me sits firmly in the budget territory. For me, it doesn't really do it in terms of micro details in the treble, in terms of notes incisiveness. The bass is not really well defined as well. It sits very firmly in budget tier alongside the other budget IEMs like the Waner, the Hola, and the original Chu. Next section is the comparison. Let's compare the Chu to the other $20 IEMs on the market. Let's first compare it to the original Chu. If you do own the original Chu, the Chu 2 now has detachable cable, same build quality, and I would argue way better cable than the original. Sound signature wise, I also prefer the 2 over the 1 because the 1 for me is vocal forward, yes, but it is quite intense, not as natural sounding in the decay as the Chu 2. Chu 2's vocals are more forward, but it also has a lot more bass to balance out the whole signature. The Chu 1 just comes across a bit too intense for me. Chu 2 is the winner. In comparison to the Waner, I would say the Waner is just a more relaxed version of the Chu 2. Everything is tamed down from the upper mid-range all the way to the treble and the bass. So the Waner is more natural, more balanced, less shouty, still vocal forward type of signature, but much more easier to listen and easier to appreciate. When it comes to build quality, of course, Chu Chu wins all the way. The Waner is built like a super budget IM. The cable is absolutely disgusting. Chu Chu, in terms of build quality, completely destroys the Waner. In comparison to the Hola, I would say the Hola is an even more relaxed version when compared to Chu Chu and the Waner. If you want just a very smooth listen, then the Hola is the way to go. The Chu Chu comes across more energetic, more lively, more forward in the vocals than the Hola. The Hola is relatively relaxed, balanced signature, and a very tamed presence area and treble. So Hola, extremely relaxing. Waner is kind of in the middle, and the Chu Chu is the most energetic of them all. Comparison to the 7Hz Zero, I would say it's very similar comparison to the Chu 1 versus Chu 2, with a bit of caveat in the treble area. The 7Hz Zero does have quite a piercing treble, and to some people who are sensitive to it, they have complained that that's a little bit too much for them. The Chu 2 doesn't have that kind of treble, even though the graph indicates that it's around similar levels. Like I said, Chu Chu having more upper mid-range balance out that amount of treble that you actually hear. So for me, the Chu Chu's decay actually comes across more natural than the 7Hz Zero. The bass also more satisfying as well. So same with the Chu 1 versus Chu 2 comparison, I picked the Chu 2 over the 7Hz Zero. Alright, that's it for this video today. Thank you so much for watching. The final verdict for Chu 2 is a halfway thumbs up. Yes, it's not a full thumbs up, and the only reason it's not a full thumbs up is because it's a little bit of a niche IM. It's not for everybody, but even if it's not for you, you should still give it a try anyway. $18.99 really doesn't hurt. Maybe you'll find the signature enjoyable. You never know. And now the big question looming in the room now is that, is Timmy back to making audio videos on the regular again? And the answer is hopefully yes. Stay tuned tomorrow for a video. I promise.
君が笑うだけで何でもできる気がする一緒にずっと